Hey, welcome to our explainer. Today, we are getting into a question that honestly affects every single one of us, but the answer, it's probably not what you're thinking. We're about to uncover when the chronic diseases of adulthood really begin, and why the teenage years are this incredibly critical and almost totally overlooked battleground for our future health.
So let me just ask you this. When you think about major lifestyle illnesses, things like heart disease or type 2 diabetes, what age pops into your head? For most of us, it's middle age, right? Our 40s, 50s, 60s. But what if that's all wrong? What if the fuse was actually lit decades earlier?
Take a look at this number, 70%. This single statistic is at the absolute heart of our story today, and what it stands for? Well, it's truly staggering. That's right. A full 70% of early deaths in adults are a direct result of habits and behaviors that started when we were teenagers. So this isn't about getting unlucky in our 50s. It's about the patterns we set when we are young. The bottom line is, we've been looking for the cause in the wrong place, at the wrong time. To really get how this happens and what we can do about it, we're going to need a roadmap. So here's where we're headed. We'll start with a hidden health crisis, then we'll make the connection to the teenage years. After that, we'll zoom in on some real-world barriers, zoom back out to see the bigger picture, and finally, look at how we might actually design a healthier future. First up, let's talk about this widespread and, frankly, dangerous assumption, the myth of the perfectly healthy teenager. For decades, the global conversation about chronic disease has focused almost entirely on adults, basically leaving adolescents completely out of the picture. This quote just sums up the whole problem perfectly. These non-communicable diseases, or NCDs, what people often call lifestyle illnesses, are just seen as an adult thing. And because we think of teens as young and resilient, the world has really only made, modest efforts to figure out what's actually happening to their health during this incredibly important time. So what happens when we do look? When we actually go and assess the health of teenagers, the data tells a story that is completely different from the one we've been telling ourselves. And this is where that disconnect just becomes so clear. On the left, you've got the biggest disease burdens for adolescents around the world. It's not diabetes or high blood pressure. It's overwhelmingly mental health issues, depression, anxiety. Then on the right, you see the familiar culprits for adults. The difference is just, wow, it's stark. So the billion-dollar question is, how does a teenager dealing with anxiety turn into an adult with heart disease? Well, the answer is that the behaviors that often begin during this really turbulent period are the very same ones that lead to the physical illnesses on the right. The seeds of adult sickness are planted right here, in adolescence. And these are the behavioral bridges that connect those two columns we just looked at. These four habits, which are often used as coping mechanisms during the stressful teenage years, they become the long-term drivers of chronic disease: what we eat, how much we move, and substance use. Okay, let's just focus on one of those for a second: physical inactivity. The scale of this problem, it is almost unbelievable. Over 80%. Think about that. This is basically a global pandemic of inactivity. More than 4 out of every 5 teenagers on the entire planet are not getting the bare minimum of physical activity they need. It's a staggering failure, and it cuts across pretty much every country and culture. But why is this happening? To get it, it's not enough to just shout, "Be more active," from the sidelines. We have to look at the real-world barriers. So, we're going to zoom in and use physical activity as a case study, looking at research from across Arab countries to see how these factors really work in practice. So, what the research shows again and again is a pretty big gender gap. Across the entire region, physical inactivity is substantially higher among girls and women than it is for boys and men. And here's a peek into the why. The research points to this complex mix of factors. You've got cultural norms about women's roles in public, clothing that's just not practical for exercise, and a simple lack of safe, private, women-only places to be active. All of it combines to create these huge barriers. But, it's not just about gender. There are enormous roadblocks that affect everybody. Hot climates that make it hard to be outside. Cities literally designed for cars, not for people. A serious lack of public parks. And, this one is huge, parents and even teachers who often push academics so hard that physical activity is seen as just a distraction. So what this case study really shows us is that telling a teenager to go play outside can be completely useless advice. The problem is so much bigger than just individual choice.
We've got to zoom back out and look at the systems that are shaping our health from the very beginning. And the key concept here is something called societal determinants of health. I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's really just a way of saying that our health isn't just about our personal decisions. It's profoundly shaped by the complex economic and social systems we're born into, the very systems that either give us or take away our opportunities to be healthy.
You can think of it like a chain reaction. A country's stability and wealth, that's the foundation. That foundation lets you build better infrastructure, like good roads and safe cities. That infrastructure leads to stronger communities with better schools. And all of those things together, they ultimately determine the actual choices a teenager has about their health every single day.
Getting this brings us to the final, and really the most important piece of the puzzle. If the problem is systemic, then the solutions have to be too. So how do we actually go about designing a world that promotes teen health instead of undermining it? The single biggest takeaway from all of the research is this: you cannot solve this problem by focusing on individual willpower. It just won't work. It demands what's called a multi-sectoral approach, where all these different parts of society work together. Health isn't just the job of the Ministry of Health anymore. And these are the real platforms for that change. It means health programs that actually work in schools. It means creating community sports leagues and recreational spaces. It means educating families. It means national policies that build parks and safe streets. And it means using mass media to help change the whole culture around what it means to be healthy. So we'll end with this question. Right now, we spend billions of dollars trying to reverse heart disease and diabetes in adults. We're basically trying to fix the problem after it's already taken root. But what if we invested all that energy upstream? What if, instead of trying to change adults one by one, we focused on changing the world our adolescents grow up in? Maybe that's where the real cure lies.